You're live.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the council for the town of Petawawa to order for December 16th, 2024. Welcome to members of council, staff, and our one guest this evening, and to you hundreds of viewers at home. We'll start this meeting off by reading our land acknowledgement, and this evening it's Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Petawawa Town Council that our community that we are meeting on is on the traditional territory of the Omawani people. We would like to thank the Omawani people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all of the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibility in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 call to action. Call to action number 36. We call upon the federal, provincial, and territorial governments to work with Aboriginal communities to provide culturally relevant services to inmates on issues such as substance abuse, family and domestic violence, and overcoming the experience of having been sexually abused. Recent progress is the Correctional Service Canada recognizes that overrepresentation of Indigenous people in the correctional system and the intergenerational impact of colonialism. The CSC is committed to continuing collaboration with a meaningful engagement of Indigenous communities and stakeholders in providing culturally responsive interventions to target the factors that contribute to criminality, such as substance abuse, family violence, and histories of victimization. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. And now I'd like to ask if everybody in attendance would please join me in standing for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Moved by Councillor Carmody, second by Councillor Coutu, that the agenda for December 16th, 2024, regular meeting of council be adopted. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? And we'll get right into the approval of minutes. We have minutes for the council meeting of December 2nd, 2024, and need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 2nd, 2024 be approved as printed and circulated. Are there any comments, questions on the minutes? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. There's no presentation, so we'll jump right into bylaws. First up, we have bylaw 1711/24. Being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement to receive funding under the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, intake number 1, with His Majesty the King in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure. I need a motion for a first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Donovan, second by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1711/24. Being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement to receive funding under the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, intake number 1, with His Majesty the King in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1711/24, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement to receive funding under the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, intake 1, with His Majesty the King in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1711/24.
I need a motion for a third and final reading of bylaw 1711/24. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, second by Councillor Carmody, that bylaw 1711/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions or comments on the bylaw? Just for everyone's reminder, it's the the Housing Enabling Water and Systems Fund. That's where we got $682,650 that we're proposing to apply to the sewer project down Portage Road to give us increased. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Operation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 171124, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement to receive funding under the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund Intake 1 with His Majesty the King in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 171124, the 16th day of December 2024.
Next up, we have bylaw 1712/24, being a bylaw to establish salary grids and set 2025 compensation rates. Need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. That bylaw 1712/24, being bylaw to establish salary grids and set 2025 compensation rates, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 171224, being a bylaw to establish salary grids and set 2025 compensation rates. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 171224.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1712/24. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that bylaw 1712/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or comments on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 171224, being a bylaw to establish salary grids and set 2025 compensation rates. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 171224, the 16th day of December 2024.
Next, we have bylaw 1713/24, being a bylaw to set remuneration and expenses for members of council, persons appointed to local boards and committees, and members of staff when on municipal business for 2025. I need a motion for first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1713/24, being a bylaw to set remuneration and expenses for members of council, persons appointed to local boards and committees, and members of staff when on municipal business for 2025. Be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 171324, being a bylaw to set remuneration and expenses for members of council, persons appointed to local board and committees, and members of staff when on municipal business for 2025. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 171324.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1713/24. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1713/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 171324, being a bylaw to set remuneration and expenses for members of council, persons appointed to local boards and committees, and members of staff when on municipal business for 2025. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 171324, the 16th day of December 2024.
Next, we have bylaw 1714/24, being a bylaw to set 2025 compensation rates for members of the Town of Petawawa Volunteer Fire Department. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1714/24, being a bylaw to set 2025 compensation rates for members of the Town of Petawawa Volunteer Fire Department, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 171424, being a bylaw to set 2025 compensation rates for members of the Town of Petawawa Volunteer Fire Department. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 171424.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1714/24. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that bylaw 1714/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or comments on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 171424, being a bylaw to set 2025 compensation rates for members of the Town of Petawawa Volunteer Fire Department. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1714-24, the 16th day of December 2024.
Next, we have bylaw 1715/24, being a bylaw to establish a municipal accommodation tax bylaw. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1715/24, being a bylaw to establish a municipal accommodation tax bylaw, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1715-24, being a bylaw to establish a municipal accommodation tax bylaw. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1715-24.
I need a motion for a third and final reading of bylaw 1715/24. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that bylaw 1715/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1715-24, being a bylaw to establish a municipal accommodation tax bylaw. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1715-24, the 16th day of December 2024.
And finally, bylaw 1716/24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 843/13, being a bylaw to adopt human resources corporate policies and procedures for the corporation of the Town of Petawawa. And in motion for the first and second reading of the bylaw. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1716/24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 843/13, being a bylaw to adopt human resources corporate policies and procedures for the corporation of the Town of Petawawa, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1716-24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 843-13, being a bylaw to adopt human resources corporate policies and procedures for the corporation of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1716-24.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1716/24. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that bylaw 1716/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1716-24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 843-13, being a bylaw to adopt human resources corporate policies and procedures for the corporation of the Town of Petawawa. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 1716-24, the 16th day of December 2024.
I'm gonna need to go visit my chiropractor. I have a lot of head twisting. We need a new configuration of the desk. There is no correspondence. Next, we have some minutes for the council and committee meeting of December 9th, 2024. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sadler, seconded by Councillor Roots, that the minutes of the council and committee meeting held on December 9th, 2024 be accepted by council, and that resolutions from that committee become resolutions of council. Are there any questions, comments, or edits of those minutes? I'll call for the vote. And all in favor? Carried. Next, we have some minutes from the Petawawa Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting of October 24th, 2024. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the minutes of the Petawawa Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting held on October 24th, 2024 be adopted as information. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I've spoken to most of these points through meetings over the last couple of months. I will draw your attention to the Ice Cube update, which is an apparatus to assist with skating and the development of skate skills for individuals who are having issues standing on their own feet to do that. We're very excited about it. It will be printed and sent to us. So we're just waiting patiently on how that will fit in with the equipment we currently have here in Petawawa. Other than that, most of the stuff has been addressed. If anybody has any questions, want some clarity on anything, I'm happy to provide.
Any questions on the accessibility report? Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you to Karen and committee, just saw a lot of the photos from the Sensory Santa, and I think it was a huge hit. And so congratulations to everybody involved in that. And it really is something important to do for our community. So I was so pleased to see so many of our children participate. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? When you say printed, I'm assuming that's a 3D printed. Must be a big 3D printer. I guess they print whole houses, so they can
Yes, yes.
print the skating board. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have minutes from the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board meeting of October 24th, 2024. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Councillor Ruth. Seconded by Councillor Donovan. That the minutes of the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board meeting held on October 24th, 2024 be adopted as information. Councillor Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did speak to just about everything in regards to these minutes, but I will take any questions if there is any concerns.
Questions on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have some minutes for the Petawawa Business Advisory Network meeting, November 5th, 2024. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the minutes of the Petawawa Business Advisory Network meeting held on November 5th, 2024 be adopted as information. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also touched on pretty well everything in my minutes. All of the events listed in these minutes have all went. They were all extreme successes. But if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Questions on the P-band minutes? And I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, that brings us to staff reports. First up is PL-36-2024, proposed temporary use bylaw Z185, Hoskins, urban farm on 255 Murphy Road. We have our Director of Planning, Melanie, and our Senior Planner, Noah, who will provide an overview of the report.
All right, good evening. I'm just going to start by saying a lot of time and effort has been spent on this proposal, both staff time and on the proponent side. We've spent a lot of time looking at all the relevant planning documents and guidance available to assess this proposal. Noah's going to go through, summarize the salient points of the report that you got in advance. I just wanted to be very clear that we're not making a decision on the file tonight. We're just rather looking for your guidance on a couple of points that will help to frame the shape of the bylaw that we will be developing and putting out to public notice and public meetings. So not deciding on the file tonight, just getting some direction from council on, you know, what are you would be willing to support in the bylaw going forward. I'll turn it over to Noah.
Thank you. Okay, so as you know, the proponent has proposed to establish an urban farm via temporary use bylaw. The proposed urban farm would include both the cultivation of crops and the raising of livestock. It would also include a roadside farm stand use. The number and type of livestock raised would vary, but would be subject to annual limits. Due to the novelty of this proposal, the proponent has agreed to proceed with a temporary use bylaw instead of permanently establishing the proposed use by a zoning bylaw amendment. The proponent is requesting that council permit the urban farm use for up to 3 years, similar to a pilot period. Subject lands consist of approximately 5 acres in the settlement area fronting on Murphy Road. Surrounding land uses are predominantly residential, both existing and planned. For background on policy, provincial planning statement provides directions on matters of provincial interest. The thrust of the latest update of the PPS is to get more homes built faster, ensure the provision of complete communities with regard to housing and employment, while also providing a high quality of life for residents. Council's decisions must be consistent with the PPS. Notable policy within the PPS is in relation to settlement areas. As I said earlier, the subject lands are located within town settlement area. Settlement areas are to be the focus of growth and development according to PPS. They are to contain a mix of land uses that efficiently use land, optimize existing and planned infrastructure, and also support active transportation. PPS also speaks to urban agriculture. Specifically, it encourages planning authorities to support local food, facilitate near and urban agriculture, and foster a robust agri-food network. Staff reached out to the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, or OMAFA for short, for some additional guidance on this file. We discussed and OMAFA spoke from a provincial perspective. Specifically, they spoke to the intent of the PPS policy, the urban agriculture policy, and emphasized that it is to encourage municipalities to support urban agriculture, but it's not necessarily a veto over other planning considerations, such as land use compatibility or servicing efficient use of lands. Some guidance that we received from OMAFA kind of generally is to be cautious, to take small steps, tread lightly, and reinforce that we need to be comfortable with our decision, and that locally appropriate was a word that phrase that came up. For the OP, the official plan, the subject lands are designated as residential. The residential designation is predominantly, intended to accommodate residential uses, principally on full services, water and sewer. The subject lands are not fully serviced; they're privately serviced. However, the adjacent residentially designated lands are fully serviced. Our OP also includes policies on urban agriculture. We're generally supportive of urban agriculture. We permit gardens; it specifically calls out gardens. Different forms of them to be permitted as an accessory use in residential designations. It also speaks to the keeping of urban livestock, again, as an accessory use. The OP leaves urban livestock as a bit of an open book. It prompts the town to complete a study looking into it further. The proponent, in lieu of a town-initiated study, has supplied the application and supporting materials to satisfy this policy on a site-specific scale. One thing to note, for this proposal to conform to the policy, it must be accessory to the principal residential use. The OP does not intend for urban farms to be a principal use in the residential designation, but accessory, so subordinate and incidental to. This accessory is similar to how we permit home industries, home-based businesses in the residential designation and zones. And the OP also has land use compatibility policies. Generally, we want to avoid incompatible land uses, and where we cannot avoid them, we want to minimize them and mitigate them. The proposed use is a valued one, local food source. However, it does have the potential for adverse effects on sensitive receptors nearby. The OP also includes policies on minimum distance separation. This is typically something planners can hang their hat on for residential uses next to agriculture, except unfortunately MDS does not apply in the settlement area. It's not intended to be used in the urban environment, which is a bit of a challenge with this proposal. OMAFA has confirmed that there's no other published guidance that could be used in lieu. Go on to the discussion. So the most significant challenge associated with this proposal is the inclusion of livestock. Planning staff did request the proponent complete an additional community open house to garner an idea of what the community is thinking. And I know many councillors were there. Much of the feedback received was positive, and supporters are very interested in the opportunity to buy local food. There were some residents adjacent that were concerned with several concerns such as pest and predator attraction, challenges with enforceability, etc. One thing to note as well, following the public open house, town planning staff became aware that the proponent has been housing more than the 6 chickens that are permitted by the zoning bylaw on the property. Use has been apparently going on for several years. The town has not received any complaints from residents or neighbors nearby. And while we don't sanction this non-compliance, it is something to note. Additionally, we will have to amend the animal control bylaw as an outcome of this. It would require an amendment to that bylaw as well. So to frame where we'd like your direction, so the proponent is anxious to move forward on the proposal. We generally agree that the gardens and the growing of crops is not necessarily the concern, but rather the livestock. So we proposed 4 kind of avenues for your thoughts, for your consideration. The first is to support the inclusion of livestock as the proponent has proposed. Second is to oppose the inclusion of livestock, only permitting chickens in accordance with the zoning bylaw, which would be 6 chickens and no selling of product. C is to support the inclusion of livestock with modification. This could be expanded buffers, limit to the number of livestock compared to what's being proposed. We could suggest to the proponent that they make these modifications. And the last is to support the present number of chickens. We know the current number of animals has not resulted in any complaints, so it's an option there as well. And the second thing we're looking for your feedback on is the length of time that would be considered by council. As I said earlier, the proponent is proposing 3 years, so looking for your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that report. That was pretty comprehensive, and I know staff and as well as the proponent have put an awful lot of work and effort, time and resources into this. Just one question before I turn it over to council. So at the present time, there are 15 homes, properties with homes that abut up to the proponent's property. But if you go down Onyx Drive, do we know how those lots have been severed and how many more lots or homes will be abutting against the property? If you don't know, that's okay.
Yeah, I don't have the number handy, but the rest of the phases of like the Bradkey subdivision writ large is like 270 homes.
Yeah.
So there are some directly abutting on it, right behind the subject property.
It looks like maybe 3 more. Hard to say. Anyway,
There's some along Onyx, like directly south, and then Onyx, Burns.
mhm.
And it's all houses in behind.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'll open it up for members of council. Councilor Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to you both for bringing this forward. And as the mayor said, there's lots of information here. So like in regards to, I'd be willing to let have a time frame of 2 to 3 year trial to see how everything works out. It needs some time definitely to have the animals mature and to see how things work out. So the list of animals that are here then, if it was too much, is this something that can be modified though as we go along? There's 300 chickens, laying hens, turkeys, swine. So if there's a problem, is this something that can be modified during this time frame that we're allowing?
I think the intent would be to more or less keep the limits within the temporary use period.
Yes.
It's something we could revisit with the proponent if that was what council was interested in, but I believe it would have been to stick with the same limit for the temporary use period.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kerman.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So along Councilor Roots's lines, Councilor Roots's questions, what kind of mechanism do we have built in to back out of this deal? Let's say we're 12 months in and we determine that, whoa, this is not working out. This is a horrible thing. And is there any way we can back out? Do we have any provisions to say that, if things go badly off the rails, so this is what we're going to do?
When the temporary use bylaw is granted, it's granted for a specific length of time, and it's good for that length So if we granted something for 2 years, the proponents would have 2 years. We can't back out midway through.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And with respect to the number of animals, like 50 turkeys sounds like a lot of turkeys to me, but I'm not a farmer, so I don't know. I try and picture 50 turkeys. I see a group of 10 on Black Bay Road and multiply that by 5. That's 50 birds. Seems like a lot of turkeys to me, but I don't know, maybe it's not that many in farm terms or in a 5-acre farm term. I'm not sure.
That was one policy in the official plan. Noah pointed out that in the residential designation, urban agriculture needs to be accessory to the main use, so it can't be the main use, agriculture. But the other language it has in there is a limited number of livestock. And so limited number is not defined, but that's something for council to consider. If the language does say limited number.
So where did we get these numbers?
The proponents proposed
Oh,
it.
they said the proponents number.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Sadler?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my first comment would be that if we're going to look at a temporary use bylaw, and the proponents are going to be investing money and resources in this, I have no problem with a 3-year term. I think that would be fair. I guess where I'm having sort of some of the issues are under the swine and the cow, and I don't know what small frame means. I guess that's the first thing. I don't know if that's like a food cow. I just don't know what that means.
I'm not a farmer either, so I don't have the definition. These are just what was provided in the, by the proposal.
Thank you. And by way of feedback from the residents, I'm presuming that everybody got in certain radius got notice, so anybody got a bus and whatnot. And if we, as I would expect, there would be some people that would be okay with it. There would be some people that would be absolutely perhaps dead set against it. Was there a sort of like for the majority of folks just, okay, this is all right, but what sort of did that look like? Is that able to be shared with us?
One thing to note is that for the open house, we did do a circulation broader than is required under the Planning Act because it wasn't statutory, it was voluntary. There were some written feedback and oral feedback. A lot of it was from the broader community. At the open house, a couple immediate neighbors did speak up, as Noah pointed out in the report, concerned about enjoyment of their backyard with sight smells, noise from livestock. But if a bylaw is put forward, it'll go through the proper Planning Act meeting. And then we have an opportunity to hear again from neighbors.
Hey, that works for me. Thank you.
While you were talking, I just quickly looked up small frame cows. They can range from 36 inches to 48 inches at depth.
Oh, the good so far than me.
I didn't say that. Further comments? Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great proposal done up, and definitely a lot of work went into on both ends of this. I think it's a good thing that I think it's worth the trial. It's good on these residents to, I think, want to take this on and make a little farm out of this, to be able to provide it themselves and hopefully at some point be able to sell. So since it is on a trial, if it was going to be a good thing, I'd probably have to put a little more caution, but it is a trial. If it doesn't work out, you have the ability at the end of the trial to step away from it. So for me, I think I'll be for this, and I think to go forward and do the public meeting and everything else I have to say after that. Thanks.
Just before I open it up for more questions, so in terms of the 3 years, if we as a council decide we only want to do 2 or we only don't want to do 1 year, after that 1 or that 2 is up, would they then have to come in and ask for another temporary, or at that point would we be saying, we've had a 1 year, we've had a 2 year, let's finalize this? How does that all work?
So again, it would be very similar to, you granted on the term. If say you granted on a 1 year, they have the opportunity to come back, either apply for a renewal of that or apply to permanently establish the use. What the proponent has proposed so far is a 3-year trial period followed by, well, depending on the success of the trial period, would be the next proposal would be permanent. At least that's what's been indicated so far. Being a trial period is tough to tell exactly what will come of it, but so those are the two possibilities there.
And one other question, in terms of the proposed number of each of these birds and other animals, are we able as a council to say in the first year, we will allow this many, and if that's working, in the second year of temporary use, we can bump the numbers, and if that works, in the third year, we can bump it all the way up to these numbers that are proposed. And even to take that one step further, let's say we say no swine the first year, but if everything's good, in the second year, we'll allow swine in and sort of phase in numbers and species as time goes on and we hear feedback.
This is definitely something we could explore with the proponent. This isn't something that had been brought up prior. You would have to think a little bit more about how we would word the bylaw, and the limits of the temporary use tool. I'd have to look into that and get back to you, but that is something we definitely can explore further.
Thanks. Councillor Kutu?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From what I remember, the open house proponent was also saying that he's intending to take those small steps himself. So more than likely he'll take on that sort of self-limiting as he pulls up. But just to say, to echo what Councillor Driscoll was saying, I also support this. I love what it contributes to a complete community in terms of places to shop and, you know, interesting attractions in Petawawa. And I really do like that it's going to help us support and contribute to the food network. It won't be, like you said, it's not going to be a grocery store, but it's going to be a very interesting, you know, addition to our community. So I'm in support of it. I'm definitely interested in seeing what we can do with this. So thank you.
Councillor Carmen?
Thank you, Mayor Servison. I'm generally supportive of this whole concept as well. And as Councillor Coutu points out, there's been a lot of time and effort put into this proposal, so I doubt that the proponent is going to max out his numbers right away. And certainly I didn't get that feeling at the presentation that that's what he intended to do. However, the phased approach does certainly have some merit, but I don't know that it actually needs to be written into the bylaw. But I'll support the 3-year term for sure.
Further questions or comments? Okay, so in terms of direction from us at this point, I guess the easiest one to deal with right now is the term. I'm getting the sense that members of council will support a 3-year trial period. Okay, so I guess you can check that one off. We will support a 3-year temporary use bylaw. So the other situation we have to deal with is to support the inclusion of livestock. And if we are we happy with the numbers and happy with the different types of animals that are being proposed? So let's just go with the different types of animals being proposed. Is everybody happy with the 7 different types of animals proposed?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's against any of those breeds or, okay. And in terms of the numbers proposed by the proponent, I know that they look pretty high to start, but as we've discussed, perhaps there's a willingness by the proponent to phase these animals in. I guess this is just my concern that it seems like an awful lot to just start with on day one. And if we leave those numbers, we are giving carte blanche. Would it be in our interest to provide a phased in numbers so that we are sure there's going to be a phased in approach and not all of those numbers? Just throwing that out there. Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So back when he was talking about nutrient units, I went down that rabbit hole of looking at what that actually meant, and there's a huge complicated chart to determine equivalency, but I did the math, and he, on his 5 acres, would be entitled to about twice as many animals if he was an industrial farm. So to my thinking, this is probably a manageable amount of animals for that space, especially given the way that he intends to use the animals to fertilize, his other endeavors. So I'm comfortable with his numbers because I think they represent a lot more research than I'm capable of. And scratching the surface, it seems to be supported by general practices.
Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would agree with that. I did a little bit of Googling myself and it does not seem to be unreasonable at all.
Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you. I will point out at the chicken order myself, like with the broilers, I would imagine they only live for 8 to 10 weeks. So I would imagine they're not going to have 300 at once. There would probably be several batches, and the same with the geese, ducks, quail, stuff like that. So I can't see them having everything like this at once, just because they don't live that long. Some of them. So thank you.
Further questions or comments? Okay, so what I'm hearing is we're comfortable with the 7 different breeds, I guess I can say. And we're comfortable with the proposed numbers by the proponent. Perhaps, maybe for council's conscience or to help us sleep at night, maybe when the proponent comes forward at the public meeting, perhaps a discussion can be, and more info can be given at that time in terms of will there be a phased-in approach, and maybe the discussion on how long some of these breeds live. If 300 means 300 over the course of a year, 50 at a time for 6 time periods, perhaps that information would help the public and council with their decision on the bylaw.
Okay, so just to confirm, it's option A then, support the inclusion of livestock as proposed.
Yes.
For a 3-year term.
Yes. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so how do I read out this resolution then? We're just going with A.
That council supports the inclusion of livestock as proposed in the temporary use bylaw and the 3-year term of the bylaw for, what was the last one? 3-year term for, maximum 3-year term for the temporary use bylaw. Something along that line.
Okay, so let me try this. The council provide direction.
No support.
Support. So I get rid of that first part?
Yep.
So the resolution would read that council supports the inclusion of livestock as proposed, and a temporary use bylaw would be considered with the planning act allowing any term up to a maximum of 3 years. Now, we are allowing 3 years.
Yeah, for a term of up to 3 years. I'll wordsmith it.
Okay.
I'll get you to sign the resolution.
So a temporary use bylaw would be allowed for a term of 3 years. Okay, let me try that again. So the council supports the inclusion of livestock as proposed, and that a temporary use bylaw would be allowed for a term of 3 years.
I just want to point out that we're not actually,
No, it's only the draft.
right, it's
Yeah.
just form of the.
Just saying support the
Yeah,
inclusion
just
of
supporting
livestock as proposed. I think it's just as it's written here, council supporting the inclusion of livestock as proposed. Right? That's what you're looking for here.
Yeah, it's just for the form of the bylaw that will then go through the formal process.
Yeah, I keep it simpler.
And so instead of using the term temporary use bylaw, we would say and supports a temporary use.
I don't know.
Term of 3 years. Don't even say that?
No, just so staff's asked for direction.
Mhm.
The direction from council is A, support the inclusion of livestock as proposed.
We're not
And
mentioning anything about 3 years.
The top has already been applied for a 3-year term, so
Okay,
So you're leaving it as proposed.
gotcha. All right, I need a mover in a second. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. The council supports the inclusion of livestock as proposed. Period. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Yes.
It's carried. You put it up and down the other way.
Good way, good way.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. No. Okay, next we have LEG 16 2024, the meeting schedule for January, July, August, and December of 2025. Colin.
Thank you, Mayor Service, through you and the council. This is my annual report that I try to bring forward to council every year. Usually I try to bring it a little bit sooner than the last meeting of the calendar year, but time got away on me this year. But the resolution is in front of you. I won't read it right now. I'll save it to the end in case there's some changes. But staff are recommending that for the upcoming month of January, that council consider the cancellation of our January the 6th meeting. The rationale for that is this is our last meeting in 2024. It being a council meeting, I don't think we'll have too much on the agenda for January the 6th. So that is the first recommendation in my report. And then we would continue on in the remaining months or the remaining weeks of January with our normal schedule of committee, council, and then committee. And then in the months of July and August, as per our procedural bylaw, which we just updated last month, we have the ability under the bylaw to shorten our summer schedule. So I'm proposing that in July and August that we reduce the schedule to 2 council meetings and 1 committee as a whole for the month of both July and August. And then in September, we would revert back to our normal schedule of 2 council meetings and 2 committee meetings. And then similar to what we've done this year in the month of December for December 2025, I'd recommend that the council is in agreement that we go with council meeting and then a super committee and then 1 council or committee meeting following that. So we would do away with the December the 22nd meeting as it would fall right before the Christmas holidays. I did put in my recommendation that there might be an ability to call a special meeting, and of course, there always is an opportunity to do that. And I was thinking that we might have to come before council on the 13th with a special council meeting to adopt the Ministry of Infrastructure's bylaw, but we were able to get it done on time this evening, so I don't anticipate the need to call a special meeting on the 13th, but it is worded in there. Should something come up between now and December the 13th that needs the attention of council, we can always call a special council meeting at the start of the meeting on the 13th if council supports the cancellation of the January the 6th meeting. So that's my recommendations. I'll happy to take any questions if council has any.
So just for clarity, on January 13th, 2025, it's a council and committee meeting, but if we need to pass a bylaw or something of that nature, we'll call a special council meeting to happen same day, just previous to the committee. That's correct. Okay. Questions from members of the council? Deputy Mayor Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no issue with any of this other than the August. I believe that Tuesday, August the 5th is right after the long weekend, the civic holiday. Would it not, as I think we did this year, make sense to folks to have the meetings on the 11th, 18th, and 25th versus right after a long weekend where people may want to be on holidays? Thank you.
Yeah, I do recall that is exactly what we did in 2024. So if council wishes, we can consider the same.
So that is what we did this summer that just went by. And it gave not only council, but staff who had to do a lot of preparation for the meetings and a little extra leeway.
Sure.
Was council okay with pushing the August meeting back a week? In July, I believe we had it this way this summer, correct? Like it was around the 7th, 14th, and 25th.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we'd like to push the August meetings forward a week to the 11th, 18th, and 25th. Everything else is okay? Okay, so you see the resolution there. I'm only gonna read it once, so have a look at it. We've made some slight changes there to August. If you're comfortable with that, I need to move in a second. Moved by Deputy Mayor Savrin, seconded by Councillor Carmody. Settle in it. The council approves the meeting schedule for January, July, August, and December 2025 as follows. Monday, January 13th, 2025, council and committee meeting, and only if necessary will a special meeting be called prior to the committee meeting for a council meeting. Monday, January 20th, 2025, council meeting. Monday, January 27th, 2025, council and committee meeting. Monday, July 7th, 2025, council meeting. Monday, July 14th, 2025, council and committee meeting, all committees. And Monday, July 21st, 2025, council meeting. Tuesday, or sorry, that should be Monday, August 11th, 2025, council meeting. Monday, August 18th, 2025, council and committee meeting, all committees. And Monday, August 25th, 2025, council meeting. Monday, December 1st, 2025, council meeting. Monday, December 8th, 2025, council and committee meeting, all committees. And Monday, December 15th, 2025, council meeting. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have councilor reports. Deputy Mayor Savrin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to take this opportunity to once again remind residents that the Christmas Angels will be making a turkey dinner with vouchers available to any Petawawa resident in town who may not otherwise enjoy one. We do have dining in, which will occur in the banquet hall of the Petawawa Civic Center. And we also have takeouts and deliveries, of which we are now accepting those registrations by contacting the Petawawa Civic Center. All of this will occur on Christmas Day between noon and 2 p.m. And I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all residents a very Merry Christmas. And for those traveling to or from, please be safe. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kerman.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I can report that on December 7th, I attended the Santa Claus parade and the tailgate party that we had in town that day. And this past Friday, I attended the budget workshop, had a library board meeting today. And I would like to as well wish the residents of Petawawa a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Councillor Kazoo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On December 6th in the morning, I attended the End Violence Against Women's vigil at the Women's Monument in Petawawa on the National Day of Action Remembrance on Violence Against Women. And then later that same day, I attended Bernadette McCann House's vigil in Pembroke. And I'd like to mention that our MPP John Yakowski was at that event, first time he's been able to make it. And he made some remarks, but I was also very pleased to see Chief Inspector Nicole at that vigil. So it was very nice to see those gentlemen there. And then on the 7th, I too attended the Santa Claus Parade and the Merry Bright Festival and another amazing event put on by the town, and kudos to the staff on all of their hard work. And I was also at a library board meeting just earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
On December 7th, I attended the Santa Claus Parade and Tailgate Market, great event. So great big thanks to all the organizers, and hopefully it continues to grow every year. December 13th, took part in a town budget workshop. On December 15th, I attended the Ottawa Valley Soup Off. I just want to say congratulations to organizers of the Emporia on another successful event. They had over 200 people attended, and they raised over $4,000 for the Robbie Eating Center. And a side note, congratulations to Alex Jansen and Clucia on being the voted best soup, but I will be working on my recipe for next year to take home the title. And I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all the residents. I look forward to a very productive 2025.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 7th of December, during the daytime, we had our Sensory Santa event here at Town Hall in the Chambers. Later that night, we attended the parade as well as the tailgate market. outstanding event. There's lots of fun to be at. On the 13th of December, I was here for the budget planning session as well. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish our residents a very Merry Christmas and all the very best for 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Root.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. December 3rd, I attended a PBAN meeting, and so the topics were discussed here was the rollout of the government GST PSD reduction plan and the impact and effects on the small businesses in our community. We discussed also remaining grants and programs for the 2024 year. Something of interest that I liked was the county is thinking about having a community improvement plan that would piggyback on other municipalities in the county. So I think that's a very good idea and would definitely help our business expand their opportunities. I also want to thank Councillor Adam Driscoll for sitting in on a few PBAN meetings as my schedule I was not able to attend, so I appreciate that, Adam. Thank you. Friday, December 6th, I chaired a festival hall meeting, and it was the first meeting with our new director, Dorian Pierce of Mississippi Productions. We reviewed all the operations of the facility and the expectations moving forward. Saturday, December 7th, I attended and participated in the Petawawa Christmas Parade, and afterwards celebrated the Merry Bright Tailgate Party, and what a way to kick off the whole Christmas season. December 10th, I attended an executive airport meeting to discuss some opportunities. December 13th, I also attended the budget workshop. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank and wish all the residents and ratepayers of the town of Petawawa a very Merry Christmas and all the best and health and prosperity in 2025. I also want to wish town staff and this council all the best as well. It's been a very big year with so many goal achievements and successes. So Merry Christmas to each and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ruth. On December 4th, I had a meeting with one of the directors of PLEO, Parents Lifelines of Eastern Ontario. It's a mental health program for parents of youth up to the age of 25 who need supports in our area. I'd like to thank Councillor Coutu for attending the Women's Vigil on my behalf, because on that day, December 16th, I was here doing emergency management training with the Deputy Mayor and staff. On the 7th, yeah, it was a fantastic Santa Claus parade and a wonderful tailgate market down at the container market. Nothing but fantastic feedback from all of the residents on the way we're growing that parade, tailgate market, and the Trail of Lights. Looking forward to that growing and getting better every year. On the 9th, there was a meeting on the garrison, and thanks to the base commander for inviting me to partake with the Assistant Ontario Auditor General. Some of the topics discussed were PILT, housing initiatives, and food. On the 10th, it was the Renfrew County Council's inaugural meeting, and we actually had a vote for the first time in many years. There were 2 individuals running for warden. Peter Emo emerged as the victor once again, so he'll be going for his 3rd year in a row. The vote was 11 for Peter Emo, 6 for Rob Weir, the mayor of Greater Manawatu. On the 12th, I had a meeting with Judy Hill from the PCFHC regarding doctor recruitment and what we can do here in the town of Petawawa to attract doctors. On the 12th, meeting with PSP, discussing various topics. On the 13th, there was our budget workshop, our first of 2. And just like to let everybody know that the Team Canada World Junior Team is presently in the town of Petawawa, practicing and partaking in some team building activities up on the garrison. Hopefully that'll help push them to the gold medal. And a big opportunity for all of us here in the town of Petawawa on Wednesday, December 18th. Team Canada Juniors will be upstairs at the Petawawa Civic Center doing an autograph and meet and greet session open to all of our young and old hockey fans here in the town of Petawawa. So it'll be a great opportunity for all of us to meet them and wish them success on their quest for the gold. And I'd also like to wish all of our citizens here in the town of Petawawa a very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy 2025. Okay, I need a motion for confirming the bill. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Carmody, the bylaw 1717/24 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Appropriation of the town of Petawawa, bylaw 1717/24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on December 16th, 2024. This constitutes first, second, and third reading short of bylaw 1717/24. the 16th day of December, 2024.
I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Roots, that the meeting adjourn to the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.